Hey, this is Chris Jericho, and you're listening to the Shout It Out Loudcast. They're going to give you a reason to live, make you feel like you're the king of the mountain, and when it's all said and done, they're going to dance all over your face. Oh, yeah! We got some good-looking girls! Oh, yeah!
Hey, what's up there, Kiss Army? Tom and Zeus with another episode of Shout It Out Loudcast. Episode 88, Eric Lindros.
Ugh.
But we're calling this one Carrie Stevens, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
If you told me 2 years ago when we were talking about a podcast that we would have Carrie Stevens on our show, oh, boy. Unbelievable.
And we would get to Skype with her
and
see her talking to us.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, that's the amazing part. Other than that, I'm kind of in a mood right now.
Yeah, we both are.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the interview part, and it's a pretty good long interview. So we want to get to it, and we want to skip through the rest of the stuff. So I'm assuming you're breathing, so you're fine.
I'm alive.
We can skip the salutations and all that.
Right.
And let's go right to the main stuff that we normally get to, and that is polls right off the bat. What do we do with polls?
Yeah, so last week we did a special with 2 polls. Special what?
Special what?
Yeah, 2 polls.
You're giving me work to do now when you say words like that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So we had our good friend and funny guy and fellow paisan, author, drummer, Joey Cass. And we talked about songs that we prefer live versus studio and vice versa. Songs we prefer studio versus live. So one of the polls was of these 4, which of these is better live compared to studio? And that was Harder Than Hell, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, 100,000 Years, and Coming Home. And Let Me Go Rock and Roll was kind of the runaway winner there. Which isn't that big of a surprise. I think everybody acknowledges that live version, especially the version on Alive, is amazing. And me and you have both said that Tommy's solo on the End of the Road tour makes that song stand out in the live version too.
Mm-hmm. What was the breakdown? Do you have that?
Yeah, the breakdown was Let Me Go Rock and Roll 37%, 100,000 Years 25, Harder Than Hell 20, Coming Home 18.
So what I wanted to say,
I don't understand how Coming Home from MTV Unplugged falls last, but that's okay.
What I wanted to say is I think that's our most spread across the board poll we've ever done.
Probably. Yeah, you're right.
Fourth place had 18%.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The next one, not so close. So this was the reverse. We had 4 songs and said which of these has the better studio version compared to when it's played live. And these were, actually, no, I'm sorry. They were close. Yeah. Forever, Heaven's on Fire, Christine 16, and I Want You. Heaven's on Fire was the winner, 33%. Right behind it was Forever at 31%. Then we had I Want You at 21 and Christine 16 at 15%.
Even 15% for number 4 is good.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the polls. That was a great episode. We had a lot of conversation with Joey, not just about studio versus live. We talked a lot about the band. We talked a lot about Paul, the drummers, and of course, Joey being a drummer made that episode that much more fun and interesting.
Joey always brings a different dynamic, and I think when he comes on, he gets to be himself with us. And a couple people were commenting like, holy shit, you got him to like fucking let loose. Yeah, maybe when he goes on other places, he's not as forthcoming. Maybe a little bit in Sunshine Happy Land or something. But
perhaps
when he's here, he lets it fly. On Facebook, Tom, we got a few comments.
Okay.
Our friend down under, Scott Donaldson, said, finally got to listen, guys. I loved it. Really enjoyed the discussion and thoughts of Joey about Eric Singer. As a fellow drummer, I agree with many of his thoughts. Unfortunately today, I feel Eric has lost his mojo, and the songs don't have the same feel as it did when he first joined. Carr's playing on Animalize is unmatched. As a side note, I also believe that ES shouldn't sing Beth, and Tommy should do a 2000 Man with a guitar solo. At least that's a cover.
Yep.
Until next time. Remember now, Scott is in the Kiss cover band in Australia.
Correct. Yep. He's the drummer. Yeah.
So I love hearing that perspective because we're always taught that, Eric Singer is very proficient. It's nice hearing that two drummers picked up on that.
It's funny too.
Same thing.
It's funny too, real quick, and then I'm going to let you continue. But what stood out for me, what Scott said about Eric Singer losing his mojo. Obviously, everybody acknowledges he's a great drummer. But I remember when we did one of our end of the road concert reviews for the shows. I remember specifically saying Eric looked bored. Like he looked like he was literally just kind of sitting there, just hitting this, with the sticks, and like he wasn't into it. So it could be an age thing. It could be, hey, I know these songs backwards and forwards. I can just sit here with one eye open and play them. But I thought that was an interesting comment from Scott. And you're right, having drummers comment on drummers is lends a way more credibility than hearing from us.
You're right. It's really it becomes work for them.
Yeah,
it's probably work for Eric. It's not fun to go out and
right,
play the same set, the same stuff, same getup, play to a track, perhaps. And, it's not spontaneous rock and roll. Fuck
exactly.
it. Let's do this. Hey, let's play this song. Let's do that. It's not.
Yep.
So to him now it's just, okay, this is the time. This is my work. This is where I go. And this, I park my car here. I go to grab my coffee, sit down, fill up my TPS reports,
Exactly. No, it's true.
Right.
Yep.
Daniel People says, "Oh man, Eric singing Beth. I really don't care that it's considered someone else's signature song. I just can't believe they waste our time playing it. Let Eric come out and sing Hard Luck Woman or Coming Home. Let Paul focus on 4 to 5 songs he can nail and share the stage a bit. Personally, I like to hear Gene sing Forever." Whatever, buddy.
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't need to see the demon do it, but I still like to hear it.
Right.
I agree with the majority of your list. I love the studio versions of Fits Like a Glove, but the cool ending on Animalized Live Uncensored video always gets me when Gene, Paul, and Bruce do their little trade-off parts.
Yeah.
And I hate hating on Tommy, but none of the Bruce era songs sound good. Maybe that's because of what Joey said about tuning. I don't have the ear to notice why it sounds off. It just does. But Unholy on a Live 3 doesn't sound that great either.
Yeah, good point.
Now,
nope, good stuff.
The last is one of my favorites is Kevin Jepson. Damn, Mr. Casada doesn't hold back. I love the passion and honesty. So
yeah,
that's Facebook. Tom, what do you got?
So Twitter. So picking up on that, it was funny. So Twisted Kister writes, Casada walks in, notices Eric Singer, and then underneath it's a GIF of a guy with a flamethrower.
I don't mean to shit on Eric Singer, but blah 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 blah.
He did. He came in with a fucking blowtorch, but that's one of the reasons why we love having Joey on. And that conversation about drummers, that was like completely spontaneous. It just kind of went there when we were talking about why we love certain songs live versus studio, and then it just took on a life of its own.
It also had to do with our friend Sonny, who in our text exchange just kind of try to backtrack. Well, I really didn't say it like that. I'm like, you know what you said.
We got the text.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
And then our buddy Todd Herrick. Good thing the lawn needs mowing. Shout it out, Loudcast. And mowing the lawn goes so well together, especially when you throw a quesadilla in the mix, meaning Joey Quesadilla.
Yeah.
JR, fun episode. Eric Singer is the perfect drummer for Pandemic Paul in Germaphobe Gene. How did we not think of that one? Oh, baptize a new character. Bill Elam, Joey Casada, in Singer's defense, he's the only drummer in Kiss who's most likely playing to a click track to keep the tempo. If he was cut loose, it'd be somewhat of a different story. Bill Elam, it's a big, good point. He might be onto something there. Our buddy Steve and our buddy Deuce, as always, we love those guys chiming in with their lists and their opinions. Shane Swan, just listening now, guys. I think one of the reasons they're not putting anything out is it will come out when their touring days are over. But I agree, give us something. And that's Shane commenting on the discussion about the lack of material put out by the band.
Hey, Tom, what was Deuce's number one song played live?
What was Deuce's number one song played live?
Better live than studio.
Let's see. I know I have that here.
I'll give you a hint. It's
okay.
Deuce.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, you know what? The reason I think we talked about that. It seems like such an obvious around.
Yeah,
everybody's going to pick that. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. That doesn't make it not a good pick, but yeah.
No, so, and he also took "I Want You." I'm surprised, but he took that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I agree with you, Deuce.
Yeah.
Good. And anything else you want to get to before we move on to Kiss news?
No. Just again, thanks to Joey for just a lot of fun, great episode, and it was a long episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it because when the three of us together, the talking doesn't stop. That episode could have been double the length.
Yeah, absolutely. We loved it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for the letters and the emails and the Facebook and the Twitter comments. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yep. So Kiss World, it's funny because we got so caught up with Joey and everything that we actually skipped over Kiss news last week, which was good because it really wasn't anything at all to talk about.
Yeah.
But this week there's a couple things. So we're recording right now on we recorded our interview with Carrie on Wednesday, September 9th. We're recording right now on Thursday, September 10th. And today is the 45th anniversary of the release of Kiss Alive. Lot of that on social media. And coincidentally, today was the day that Kiss announced releasing a whole bunch of new Kiss Alive products on kissonline.com. A little disappointed in the vinyl, but of course I bought it because I'm a fucking puppet. So I got the vinyl. It's unfortunately not what I expected. I was expecting some kind of special deluxe set. All it is the double vinyl looks like a little bit of a color splash thing, similar to Unmasked. I just don't understand how the most iconic, career-defining album in their discography doesn't get some kind of box set or collector's package or something like that. Then they released a couple of T-shirts, and then they released a fucking viewfinder with slides that you put in and look at pictures of the band. I don't know. Now, granted, I got the vinyl, and I also ordered one of the cool T-shirts. So, I'm one of those people that bitch about the band, but then they take my money.
Did they put a Slinky in there too?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, a Kiss Etch-a-Sketch. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. What's the one that used to fucking shake and it would make like a mustache on somebody? And fucking, what were those things called?
Oh yeah, and it had like the little magnetic pencil.
Yeah. And make a little mustache on somebody.
Yeah, that's my head kind of looks like that guy when he's bald. Like that's what I look like right now.
Okay.
So that's the Alive anniversary thing. And then there was another cool thing I saw last night. It wasn't on Bruce's official page, but it was going around on a couple of other pages. And it's a Bruce Kulick private autograph signing thing that he's doing where you can go onto the website. The website is called fanhq.myshopify.com. It's fanhq.myshopify.com. You're going to see a bunch of different celebrities in there. You click on Bruce Kulick, you'll see it. So what they're doing is for a fee, you can take an item, any item that you want that you already own, whether it's a vinyl, a poster, a guitar pick, or whatever, send it to Bruce, and this company will then sign it, attach a certificate of authenticity, and it'll return it back to you. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool if you're into that stuff. I mean, if the price is right, I think it's $30 or $40. So I thought that was kind of cool. I love Bruce, so that might be something that I might be taking advantage of. And then in terms of news, Pandemic Paul makes his way into the news again. We talked about this today. He goes off on the virus and COVID and the masks and going after people on Twitter like he does. But one thing that stood out to me, we kind of talked about this a little bit before we started recording. Now, it is Thursday evening, September 10th. And as of right now, Paul and Gene, neither of them have said a word about Kiss Alive. Okay. However, Gene did take the time to congratulate somebody on being named the new CEO of Citigroup. Well, because that's an important thing to talk about on the 45th anniversary of the album that made you relevant right now. So Paul and Gene, crickets on Alive. I don't get it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on anything I'm saying here? Because because I'm getting annoyed right now. And like we said before we recorded,
I know.
This podcast is starting to make me hate Kiss.
And then anybody we get on, and you'll hear it later in the interview, it's starting to shit on them too. Anybody we put on, it's like, yeah, fuck them. Like, wait a minute. We started off loving this band. What's going on?
Well, I think what's happening though, is that this is all happening in real time. Like, obviously we love the band. We love the band, concerts, merchandise, t-shirts. But what's happening is it's a really interesting time to be a Kiss fan, and for us to have a Kiss podcast is that we're seeing the evolution of Paul and Gene and of the band in real time. And we're lucky enough to have this weekly forum to bitch about it.
We're supposed to like this band.
We do, but we don't have to like them. Look, I love Metallica. Lars is a pain in the ass.
So a couple things.
Okay, go ahead.
This bugs you way more than it does me.
That's okay. Yeah.
I don't expect them to like be like, hey, I have to write something on a live. Otherwise, fucking Billy Bob is going to give me shit from Arkansas that I didn't mention it today.
Okay.
Is it a big deal? No. I mean, I don't care. Should he have? Probably, but whatever. These guys are forgetting band members' deaths.
Yeah.
And they're not even fucking giving condolences for that. And you want to give a shit because they don't remember an album? I mean, so to me, there's other bigger fish to fry. He's got important things to do, like tweet to Gene. Hi, Paul. I mean, Gene to Paul. Yeah. Hi, Paul. And Paul back to Gene. Hi. Back at you.
What the fuck is that? See, that's what I'm saying. That's annoying. I'm sorry.
I find it funny.
I do too.
Hi, Paul. This is Gene Simmons.
Yeah. From Kiss.
This is Paul Stanley. And I'm making some pasta primavera. Anyways,
I'm going to show you how to eat spaghetti through a mask.
I'm gonna get on my huffy bike and go around and scream at teenagers for not wearing masks.
Hey, I had a Huffy Pro Thunder and it got stolen from outside of a flea market in the 8th grade.
I had a cousin that was so famous because he had a PK Ripper frame on his BMX bike when we were little.
That was your nickname during I Want You. They called you PK the Ripper.
No, the Ripper is in. I gotta send this. This is another private joke that has become viral amongst all us on the fucking tweet exchange that we have with our gang of podcasters. Uh-oh. There's this poor lady. I'm not gonna fucking give it away. That loves to pose in supposedly like sexy lingerie.
Oh no!
But I don't think she understands. She's like not American, and she loves to pose with albums in lingerie. And then, but her poses are not the sexiest poses. They're all of her. They're all of her like lifting a leg up. It just looks like she's ripping them. And we've come to baptize her as the Ripper. And we tend to send these new pictures that we find of her. There'll be one of her like on a bed, and it's like, oh, she's letting one go here. Or one of her leaning up against a chair. This poor girl. This poor girl.
And the worst thing too is that we went and looked to see like do other people feel this way too? And it's like, no, it's just us, of course.
And like this poor girl like has no idea that for our amusement we text each other photos, not to say how sexy she looks, but to imagine the stench of what she's releasing. From these, and what did she eat to upset her stomach?
What's the matter with us?
Oh, this is definitely Taco Bell Tuesday. What the fuck is wrong with us?
I'm glad we're laughing now because oh God.
If you guys want to see what we're talking about, send us a private DM. We're not posting it on Twitter.
No, we're not.
You guys are going to be like, or better yet, post a photo of who you think it is, and then tell me, and then we'll be like, yep.
Do that because we don't want to ruin this poor this poor thing. So
yeah, I know. And but the last couple things, Tom, I've got to hit on this. And
Go
one
ahead.
was Tommy put a picture of the band actually in makeup of himself. Remember?
Yes.
And he was like, when's the last? Oh, they're talking about Kiss. It happens to be Tommy.
Yep. And I actually tweeted something on my personal page, and I said, "Oh wow, look at this! A member of Kiss actually tweeting out something about the band that they're in."
Yeah.
You know, and it was that John Varvatos shoot where they dressed up as with the Dress to Kill, the suit, for the thing, and you know, and I was also pleased that a lot of the comments were like, "Oh, Tommy, that's so cool!" Like I didn't really see people going after him the way we thought it would happen, so that made me happy.
Yep. And then finally, and you know, I know you don't like it, but I had to post it on our page. Ace gets political and talks about that he likes Trump. Now, we have our own opinions, and you know how we both feel. You go on our personal stuff. We're on opposite ends of the spectrum, but guess what? We have a Kiss podcast, and we're best of friends. We can do that, people. It's okay.
Exactly.
It doesn't make a difference, right?
Yep.
So anyway, we didn't get into it with us. We didn't start bantering amongst it, but we put it out there. He was talking about being a Trump guy or something like that. And all of a sudden, all you knuckleheads out there, yeah, Ace is the best. Yeah, fuck Ace is a racist. All sorts of shit. All right, that's the other part. You know, that's the part you guys focus on. But the way my mind works is I focused on the photo. What the fuck? That is the worst looking Ace photo I think I've ever seen. His nose.
It's getting huge.
It looks like it touches each ear.
Yeah, it looks like one of those like Halloween like costume noses. It's fucking gigantic. The poor guy.
Yeah, it looks like you said. It looks like Grandpa is talking to you
from 16 Candles. Yeah, exactly.
The old politician's nose.
The Tip O'Neill nose.
Joe DiNucci.
There's a New England reference for any New England listeners there.
He doesn't look like Joe Malone. That's for somebody else.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh God. Oh, what the fuck?
Sorry. Anyway, that was basically a lot of news.
Yeah.
We got through the rest of the part, Tom, and we're about to talk about our interview with Carrie Stevens. Who is our sponsor, Tom?
Well, it's good timing, but everybody knows our sponsor. And if you don't, pay attention because you might want to take advantage of this because free stuff is awesome, but free stuff to spice up your bedroom is even better. Select almost any one item for 50% off, and then adamandeve.com loads on the free stuff. Use promo code Loudcast at checkout and get 10 tantalizing free gifts. A sexy item for him, a special gift for her, and a third item you will both enjoy, and those 6 free spicy movies and free shipping. Promo code Loudcast at adameve.com. And if you guys take advantage of that promo code, let us know. We want to see if people are actually engaging with this. So let us know if you're taking advantage of that. And if you are, have fun.
Yeah, no. And if you were us and got to talk to Carrie Stevens, you were definitely going on to adamandeve.com and getting some stuff.
Oh, so, hell yeah.
A couple things to build up to this interview, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about too much of it. I don't want to build it up, but holy fucking shit. One thing I want to say is this. You're right. When we started this podcast, we were just saying to ourselves, we're not known out there in the Twitterverse, the Kiss community, anything like that. We're just 2 regular Kiss guys. We're not other podcasters or people who've been doing this. We're not musicians. We're, we're not celebrities of any other kind. We are just 2 guys that are big Kiss fans and think we have a kind of unique sense of humor. And along the ways, we've had some great times, some great guests, and this is one of our favorites. I remember the first time she interacted with us, and we were like, what the fuck? It's Carrie Stevens. And the running gag I have is because she's out in California, Tom's the early bird. I'm the late night owl. There are times I'd be up and tweets and stuff and direct messages, we would get in contact with Carrie and we'd be talking back and forth along the way. There were times I'd wake up, roll over 3 a.m, and there's a direct message from Carrie Stevens. For a single male in his late 40s to be waking up half asleep with message from, I don't even care if it's Carrie Stevens saying, don't fucking ever direct message me again. It's like the sexiest thing you've ever seen in your life. You're like, oh my God. So I could have just died with that and been happy, waking up to a Carrie Stevens personal message. But along the way, we got to get to know her a little bit better. We were along the way talking to her about her book and the progress and what she was doing, and talking about we need to get you on, Carrie. We'd love to have you. It's like, I got my book coming, guys. Just give me some time. The book will be coming. The book. So we knew all about it. And there was lots of messages about things that were going on with Kiss, things about Eric, things about Paul, which you will hear about. And she was great. She was, unabashed, honest, just out there, and gave us everything that was on her mind, no filter. And she actually kept that right through on our interview as well. And it was so refreshing, because usually people try to play the part and be the bland answers and all that stuff. But no, not Carrie. She was an incredible guest. We were lucky to have her. And I'm curious to hear what you thought building up to this interview.
Yeah, this is not going to be your standard interview that you hear. So this is the first time that we've actually physically spoken with Carrie. Like Zeus said, everything was electronic. She's from New England. She's from Massachusetts. That's where we're from. I don't know if it was that kind of thing that just hit it off, but the minute we got together on Skype, we hit it off with kind of, sense of humor, talking amongst each other as if we had talked many times before. And the interview is just something very unique, and we're very excited and interested to see what you guys think, because Carrie just does not hold back, and we're just excited to present it to you.
Yeah. So, without further ado, here we go.
We got a little surprise for you tonight. We're going to turn the microphone over to
actress, author, model, business entrepreneur, and the third best looking person to come out of Massachusetts, Tom. The one and only Carrie Stevens. Carrie, thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. I suppose you're number one and number two, huh?
Carrie, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. And I have to say, unfortunately, Joey Casada's reign as best looking person on Shout It Out Loudcast, it lasted 1 week. Because now we have you.
Did you guys do a poll on Twitter for best looking? Because I missed that.
We can do that. We can do that.
That would be really funny.
We can do that.
He wouldn't be in the poll. He wouldn't even be in the top 5.
Joe, come on, do it. I think you should put me, Joey Casada, Chris Jericho, and Bruce Kulick up and see who wins.
That means we got to get Bruce on first, and then we can do it. But
Bruce hasn't done your show.
Not yet.
But that's okay.
He's the best.
Yeah, you'll still win this poll anyways. I just have a feeling for all our guests, right, Tom?
I think so too, but
absolutely. Go ahead, buddy. You're up.
So Carrie, again, thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you. Your book, Unrated, Revelations of a Rock and Roll Centerfold, has been out for a couple weeks now. Zeus and I have read the book. Great book. We're so happy to have you to talk about that. And as you know, we're a Kiss podcast, so we have lots of Kiss-related things that we want to talk about too. And we're going to let you talk about whatever you want to talk about. But before we get started with that, every time we have a guest on our show, the first thing we have to do, we have a couple of interview questions that Zeus likes to get out of the way here first. Everybody who comes on our show asks them. Some of these answers might be a little bit obvious, but play along with us.
Yeah. So we call these the Murph questions. Murph is Tom's roommate.
As long as you're not asking me MILF questions, I'm in.
No, not MILF. They're Murph questions. He's our Tommy's little footy pajama roommate from college. We're all college buddies. And so he was our first guest, and these are the questions we've asked every guest that's come on here. So this one is pretty easy for you. Favorite Kiss member?
Eric Carr.
I thought you were going to say Paul Stanley. Who is your second favorite then?
Bruce Kulick.
Perfect. Okay.
Favorite Kiss song?
Black Diamond.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Favorite Kiss album?
Oh, I'd have to say Hot in the Shade.
Oh, like the shirt that I'm wearing right here. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great. How many Kiss concerts have you been to?
How could I possibly ever
Count.
I have no idea.
That's a good answer.
I
Say
mean,
more than 25, 50?
easily. Probably hundreds.
Okay.
And then this one's pretty important. Your favorite Kiss memory?
Oh, well, this is a loaded question because I can't think. Now, whatever the fuck are you asking me? I'm like crying already.
Oh boy, here we go.
I Kiss memory.
Yes.
I can't think of. It's very difficult to think of Kiss without thinking of losing Eric. So,
Okay.
Excuse me. I don't really have like. I guess okay. All right. It's in my okay. I don't know. I don't have a favorite. Well, before I got involved with Eric is very different than when I was just a fan. Before I was a girlfriend, it is two different. I mean, there's so many. You read my book. I mean, gosh, I just can't answer that because it was so different being. The great stories of before I was with Eric, my run-ins with the band.
Yep.
They're such fun stories, but gosh, it's almost, it's incomparable to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's probably the worst answer you've ever had on the show, huh?
Not at all. Not at all. It's completely understandable.
It's
Not at all.
honest.
Yep.
Exactly. That's what we want, and that's fine. I don't know. I thought maybe there's some great stories, and we're not giving away stuff. People need to read the book.
Don't mind if people, you know what? If you want to say something that's in my book, go ahead. You're not going to, stop me from selling it. It'll help me because, people. I think people need to know a little bit more about me. Like people don't know anything about me. So if you want to share a little story that's in my book,
absolutely.
It's in my book. I have, hundreds of stories in that book. I have 11 more chapters that I didn't write that I could have in the book. I had to leave some things out because it was already 340 pages long, and that was with me editing it so much already. And I knew there's some things I left out, knowing that I would be doing interviews and I'd do press and I'd tell stories later. So I have no shortage of them. So fire away.
Yeah, no, I would probably guess the time somebody asked you to marry them.
That was, and that I've always wondered, I couldn't ask Eric that question. I've always wondered if that was part of the shtick. Like, was that every night on tour? When was that, 1985? Did Paul shine the spotlight on a girl in the audience and say, I'm going to marry you? Does he do that every night? I was the girl that night.
Probably.
He picked. Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, I was 16 years old. And those were the days. I mean, that's when you could get floor seats and you just, I don't know, what were they, 10 or 15 bucks? Actually,
Yep.
in my book, I had saved all of my, as you know, all of my my concert stubs, which is how I was able to write the book and save my dates of when things happened because I saved all of those concert stubs. So yeah, those were like $15, and we would just go down on the floor and tap the tallest guy on the shoulder and say, can I sit on your shoulders? And those were the best seats in the house. So that's why the 80s are the best, because you can't do that anymore.
That's true.
Somebody will follow.
I picked the tallest guy I could find. I sat on his shoulders, and Paul was, the show me your tits thing in the 80s. All the bands were doing it, show me your tits. And I was the one that wouldn't do it. I kept shaking my head no, and he kept flirting with me. And I had this white sweatshirt, like flash dance, that went over my shoulder, and it had like this white fishnet netting tied over it. And then finally I just lifted up the netting part, but not the sweatshirt part, and laughed. And then he shined a big spotlight on me, stopped like the song and said, I'm going to marry you. And I was only 16. And I made my girlfriend Chrissy go chasing the tour bus down the street with me after the concert. Her mother got mad because we weren't where we were supposed to be when her mother was picking us up. I'm sure I never told Eric this story. But yeah, who knew? It was only a short 2 years later that I would meet Eric, end up with Eric, and end up being his serious girlfriend. And I have no idea if Paul did that every night. I did ask him about it, as you know, in the book in New Hampshire. The next time I saw him, and he said he did, but of course he'd say that. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. Everyone knows what happened. I ended up with Eric, not Paul.
With Eric, right? So that's actually that. Well, it's funny because before we get into Eric, just since we're talking about Paul do we want to talk? Oh, see, that's perfect, because everybody that listens to this show, obviously we're a Kiss podcast, so we love the band, but we have our issues with Paul. We're not gonna get into that right now. So we'll back up a little bit. So let's jump off being a Kiss podcast and let's talk about your early relationship with Eric and how that started. You were a Kiss fan. You went to the concert. Your first show was in Springfield, Mass.
When I was 16.
When you were 16, and you told us the story about Paul. So walk us through a little bit. You talk about it in the book, but then tell us how then you connected with Eric and then how that kind of developed.
Well, that was after Springfield, Massachusetts. I ended up living in Memphis, Tennessee, because, well, you got to read the book to find out that part. But I ended up in Memphis, Tennessee, where my father was living, and I hooked up with a lot of rocker. I went to modeling school there, so I met all these rocker chicks in modeling school, and thank God they saved me. But yeah, one of them, she was a lot older than me, and she had met everybody. Like I think she's I wouldn't call her a groupie, but not like she was like blowing roadies, but she knew everybody. Yeah. I think she used to blow Vince Neil. Does that count as a groupie? But anyway, in any case, she knew everybody. So it was the night, we had actually gone to Mississippi. I went with a few other girlfriends to Mississippi the night before and saw Kiss. And then the following night they were in Memphis, and her name was Kathy. We were in the hallway we always knew where the bands were staying. They always stayed at the Peabody, or next door, the opening band would stay at the Radisson. So we went, and Eric was coming out of the elevator and walking quickly down the corridor, and Kathy ran up to say hello to him, and he handed her some backstage passes. They didn't talk long, and he walked out. He didn't even notice me. And then it was a couple nights later, I was back at the Peabody in the lobby bar with a friend. We just went because Ron Woods from the Rolling Stones was having an art exhibit. So we went to see that, and we're sitting in the lobby, and there's the back of a guy's head that looked like Paul Stanley, and two other guys that looked like kind of rockerish kind of guys. And this is a very, high-end 5-star hotel. But I can't believe I was so bold back then. We thought it was Paul Stanley from the back of his head. Of course, eventually I figured out it wasn't, when he turned. And then I overheard them talking about getting a taxi to go to the Midway Cafe to see the Willies play, a band that my friends and I went to see all the time. And I was bold. I just interrupted. I chimed in and I said, I have a car, I'll take you. And that's how we met.
Damn.
And
Wow.
This is not included in the book because I couldn't. Gosh, I get so freaking teary. I mean, it's like 29 years later and it still gets to me.
It's okay.
But
That's okay.
Don't worry if I cry, because it's not always a bad cry. Sometimes it's just a good, like, memory warmth cry.
Okay.
So in the book, I'm sure you noticed I have a page that's with some handwritten letters to him.
Yeah. Yes.
And a lot of photos. There's one of us is standing in front of a jukebox, and I have a baseball hat on. Well, I'll tell you the story behind that because it's not in the book. The night that we met and we went to the Midway Cafe, the moment that we fell for each other was standing in front of that jukebox. And I remember it like yesterday, like the moment the magic happened and those lights coming out of that jukebox, and, you know, like this. So anyway, we later on, when I was his girlfriend and during the Hot in the Shade tour, when we were in Memphis, we went back to the Midway Cafe to go stand in front of that jukebox again and take a picture. And that's the picture that's in the book. That I didn't have time to describe the story behind the photo in the book, so that's the photo. And it's very special.
That's awesome. That's
and
amazing.
We went back to the spot that, you know, the magic started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's something that I saw in the book. And if I was going to describe it, the words that were in this book were exactly how I found you and how you wrote this book. It was truly raw, true, and unashamed. You let it out. You didn't hide it. You didn't pussyfoot around. But yet there were parts of the book that I'm like, you know, you could have went for the jugular. You could have went nasty. You could have made it tabloidy. You could have talked, but you're like, I'll only talk about the stuff that happened to me and the people around me.
No, it was. Writing is about rewriting. So I rewrote this more times than I can remember, and believe me, it was it's therapy, and it was a lot more. A lot of versions. I was taking out my emotions in the book, and it was actually Chris Jericho of all people, because I don't know him all that well, you know. But like I told you, Joey Cassette, like there's a very special. Oh, you're not going to believe this, but Eric's sister is chiming in on the other line. This is funny.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Eric's sister is trying to call me while I am talking to you, and she just ruined the screen. So
that's okay. We're good.
Okay. It's okay.
I'm going to just let it go to voicemail, I guess. It's funny, though. I was just about to tell you how close-knit Eric's... I mean, that's why I included you and Chris and Joey. And like we're a close-knit group. Bruce, like when... the people that love Eric really love him, and we're a close-knit group. I talked to Loretta several times a day. I'm not surprised she's calling, but anyway, she just totally distracted me from what we were talking about. Thanks, Loretta.
That's okay.
Call you back later. So where were we? Sorry.
So I was saying about the book that's like raw, true, and you were talking about rewriting it.
I did. It was actually, I was telling you, because Chris Jericho loves to kiss Paul Stanley's ass. As you know. It was him that said, yeah, he basically saved Paul from the wrath of Carrie. So he owes Chris a thank you. Chris, he basically said, you know, Carrie, you know, it's a fine line with what you want to say, because fans don't want to hear like too much. And then I thought it through, and I thought, you know, he's right, because this is not really a book about Kiss in the first place, and I don't want to disappoint people, number one, and trick them into buying it. I knew I'd get a ton of press because people have been bugging me for years, 27 years of me to write including Gene, suggesting I write a book about Kiss. But it's not a book about Kiss. As you read it, it's a book about Carrie Stevens. So I don't want to disappoint anyone into thinking they're going to read it and get some dirt about Paul Stanley, because they're not. It's not a book about Paul Stanley. This is not Paul Stanley's book. He already wrote his books. And unfortunately, he mentioned me in one of them, and he exploited me. And that's why I don't like him. I was not a Playmate in 1991. I was just a very young 22-year-old girl. And then he has to exploit me in his book. Some Playmate Eric was dating. Oh, and acting, saying I was like I mean, he talked about the most painful moment of my life, the most vulnerable moment of my life, one that he will never experience because God graced him with fame, money, and family and a long life. But I had to stand over my boyfriend's coffin, and he brought that up in his book and dared to say that I'm somehow like molested Eric's body and took his drumsticks out of his hand, and that was some playmate. Like really, Paul? Are you not famous enough? Are you not rich enough? You have to try to use me to get more notoriety. Obviously, I'm sure he didn't write his own book like I did. He had a ghostwriter, so let's not blame Paul completely, because his asshole ghostwriter, whoever this guy was, probably did it. And Paul obviously probably was too lazy or just didn't give a shit to prove it. But that wasn't fair to me. And I didn't find out about it for about 2 years. And it was strange because, I mean, of course, I wouldn't read Paul's books, but it's an eerie story. I was in Ireland last summer, and Tommy Thayer found out from social media that I was in Europe, and he texted me and said, "Hey, do you want to come to any of the Kiss shows?"
Yep.
And I said, "Yeah, sure." My friends from LA come and visit. I had a good friend, my good friend Marty. He said he plays Paul Stanley in a cover band in Belfast, and I knew I could. He wanted me to get him backstage. I can get guys backstage only if I walk them in. I knew if I could, they want. I have no power to get a guy in unless I go with him. So I really wanted to help my friend out, and my friend that was coming from LA, she'd never seen them. 2 nights before the show, which would have been Eric's birthday, and I told you I don't really watch YouTube. I'm in bed, I'm sleeping, and oddly, my computer's across the room. And I hear Paul, I'm woken up by Paul Stanley's voice, and he's talking about Eric's funeral and complaining about how terribly him and Jean were treated about the funeral. And next thing I know, he's and he was dating some playmate that molested his body and took his drums out. I'm like, what? So I'm it woke, I swear, I thought I was dreaming. And I have no idea how my computer came on in the middle of the night, and it landed on Paul Stanley's YouTube voice on his video, because I don't really watch YouTube much. It's like it was haunted. I swear, I think Eric wanted me to know because it was on his birthday, July 12th. I was going to their concert the 15th. I would have canceled. I was so mad when I heard that Paul talked about me that way in his book. I was so angry. I really didn't want to go to the show anymore. But I couldn't cancel because I promised. I was staying in Ireland. We bought the tickets from Dublin to Scotland. We got the hotel. I didn't want to disappoint my friends. But I had to stand in line like everyone else for the meet and greet. And I stood, they waved you you're supposed to stand between Gene and Paul. I refused. I stood straight next to Tommy. And then I gave Gene a giant hug. And I gave Eric Singer a big kiss on the cheek. And I wouldn't make eye contact with Paul. And then I actually walked out of the show as he was butchering. I forgot what song he was butchering. He was butchering one of them. I couldn't take it anymore. And so I just left. But, it was also brought to my attention because, like I told you, my friend Marty that is in the Kiss cover band told me that Paul leaned over to Tommy and said something snide about me after I refused to acknowledge him. But he should ask himself why I refused to acknowledge him, because that was very wrong what he did to me. That was very wrong. And besides that, I'll never read his book, but he also, according to what I've heard, refers to Eric as a putz. I don't believe that you should speak ill of the dead. It's classless. He's not here to defend himself. And furthermore, he is a complete liar for calling Eric a drug addict or saying he was on drugs. Eric never did drugs. He made it clear to me that he would dump me if I ever did drugs. And he only accidentally ate a space cake. I did not trash Paul in my book because, like I said, it's not a book about Paul. But I was very aware that he wrote mistruths and lies about Eric that were needless and ruthless in his book. And I corrected them in my book by saying what happened without having to call Paul, what I'm saying live now, a complete liar, who actually I'm damn sure that he never wrote a word of his book himself. So celebrities like that, they just don't. Everybody knows that they don't write their own books.
Yeah.
So I almost, even though I've tried to say he's a fucking asshole for doing that, I kind of go, well, his asshole ghostwriter or whatever is just as much to blame. I'm trying to, honestly, because I don't like to be angry at people. I have many, but this is why I love Gene, because Gene knows all of this about me. Gene loves honest people. Gene is straight to the point. He doesn't care what your opinion is as long as it's real. And I respect that. And that's why when Gene, I hadn't seen those guys in years after Eric died. And then I was a Playmate. So suddenly we're in the same circle again because Gene was always at the Playboy Mansion because of Jim. So we're always at the same things. And now I have some status of my own. So Gene wanted me on the cover of Tongue magazine. And he had another guy interview me. And I actually loved that interview. But Gene didn't like it. He didn't think it was, he wanted National Enquirer. He wanted so he invited me over. We sat in his living room and he asked me direct questions, and I'm sure you guys have seen it being Kiss fans, but I told him straight out in the magazine, I hated you guys for the way you treated Eric. I hated you. And he said, tell me everything. I want to hear everything. And I did. I said everything, and he printed it. And that is why I'm a fan of Gene. That is why I respect Gene. So I'm not pro-Kiss. I'm not anti-Kiss. I know them way too personally to speak like the same fan I was when I was 18 years old and met Eric. That's why I couldn't answer your first question. So I hope that's clearer now.
Well, Carrie, first of all, let me just catch my breath and thank you for your brutal honesty, because that is what we want from you. And that is what people who listen to this show get from us, because obviously we don't have the relationship.
Why lie? Look, I don't profit off of Kiss. The only people that aren't telling the truth about them are people that make money off of them. And, or they're, I'm not afraid. And like I said, I respect Gene because it's only fair to expect the same of others that you give to them. And that is why I admire Gene Simmons so much. He's not a hypocrite. And those not either. And aren't liars boring anyway? Liars are boring. Like when I originally wrote this book, it had a very bad title. It was called Nice Girls Don't. And I thought of that because nobody wants to write. No one wants to read about a boring girl. You want to read about the bad girl. Nice girls are boring. So like if I had been polite and fake, it would be boring. And who would want to read that? So I believe in being raw, true, and unabashed. And that's
what I mean about with us obviously on a lower level, because we don't have the relationship that you have with the band, but we have voiced our opinions on how we feel about the band. We love the band. Obviously we have a Kiss podcast. Obviously we love them, follow them since we were kids, but we have our own very, very strong emotions about Paul and about Gene.
I absolutely love them and respect them as a band.
Right.
How can you not respect someone who's a group of, including Paul, as being so successful for 40 years at what they've done? I don't know if I'm right about 40 years. You can correct me on that. But for a very long time, they've been, they've survived, and you have to respect them for that. So, and yes, they've got a great shtick, great marketing. They're entertaining to talk about. I love a lot of their music, not all of it, but I think you should talk to Joey Quesada more about the music and me and more about the relationships with the band. He's better at that.
That's okay. So what I wanted to say is, and I'll put on my little psychiatrist hat here. I feel like he realized, and this is Paul, that he comes across in Gene like assholes during this whole Eric thing.
Yep.
So he has to spin it.
Back up. I didn't hear you clearly.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
They've realized they're assholes, or just Paul realizes he's an asshole?
I'm just saying they realized that the whole Eric part.
There's no other way though, how else do you not come off like an
So-
asshole with what
so
happened? There's
what
no
they have
other
to
way.
do is they have to spin it and try to get ahead of the story. And they get very dismissive about someone like you. And they use dismissive language purposely, like playmate. Like you were just some girl, like, and that you were doing strange things. And like it was surreal for them. And so this is the kind of crap that they threw out there. I feel like Paul and them realized that they look like assholes with Eric and stuff, and they handled it wrong. And so they have to get dismissive and get ahead of the narrative. So they get dismissive with you. Oh, some playmate, some girl.
I would say
so
they. I would say Paul. But
Okay.
unless there's something I haven't heard about, I've never heard of anyone else speaking negatively. I think, but I do think that they are huge stars. I'll never be, as huge as they are. I think they dismiss everybody. I don't think it's just me. I think they think they're bigger than everyone. And I don't want to keep saying they, because some people are bigger assholes than others. So I definitely think Paul thinks I'm a little nobody. And I think that a lot of people are like, ooh, wow, Carrie, are you going to like reveal, what they really did to Eric when he was dying in your book? I'm like, it's nothing I haven't already revealed. Like I've been saying it since, it happened, but I've only been interviewed by Kiss fanzines and things. And like that, and I wasn't really in a position I didn't, and a few times when I have been, it's edited out, the real story. If people do pay attention, the one person that did not edit me was Gene Simmons, and that's why I respect him. On the other hand, Paul's a lot more, Gene is a lot friendlier and a more personable person. I never had the opportunity with Paul to confront him like I did Gene and face to face say, hey, I used to hate you. As a matter of fact, you guys are going to love this story. Paul, I moved since then. Paul was my neighbor after Eric died. For like 19 years, Paul was my neighbor. Oh my God. I had to see him everywhere. I'd go to the grocery store, I'd see him at the deli, and I'd turn and run like the other way. I saw him coming down the aisle, I'm like ducking, and I'm like going the other way. I would go to the mall, and he would be in weird places, like standing I'd go to park, and there's Paul Stanley standing like in the alley at a mall, like on his cell phone. And I'm going, at the restaurant, like Beverly Glen Center. He was always there eating. And I was like, why can't I run into like Leonardo DiCaprio or someone? Why is it always Paul Stanley? I see him everywhere I go. And every time I see him, like he backs up, like he's really weird. Like, instead of like normal people that have known each other their whole lives and they come in for a hug, no, he takes like one step back and his shoulders get back and his eyeballs bulge out like Tori Spelling, like Janie Lane. He's like got a fish face and he looks like he stuck his fingers in a socket like a Botox, and he like. No, he looks like he's been electrocuted. Like just the sight of me, like he backs up and freezes, his shoulders go back. He's like,
oh my God,
like a reptile. You know what he looks like? He looks like, have you ever seen a black goat with big bulging white eyes? That's what he looks like. Like he's uncomfortable in his own skin. It's very apparent. So I tried, and whenever I would be forced, like, not like in the mall or the grocery store, I tried to avoid it. But if I was like in a restaurant and I was forced to like have to bump into him or sit near him, I would be like, hi, and try to like, be friendly and give him a hug. And he always did that weird, I don't know, cross between a goat and a reptile move and backed off. And he just nodded strangely. He's a weird cat. He's just, I don't know what his problem is. But anyway, I have strange experiences. And I'm glad I moved. I don't have to bump into him anymore. That's good. But okay, I think I was trying to be fair, and then all my pent up feelings just came out. So in fairness, I never had like Gene and I have a very open, we can speak openly like you and I are right now, and He allows me to be me. Paul does that weird thing and he shuts off and you can't really communicate with him. So maybe that's why I've known, 30 years now, and I wouldn't know how to communicate. I mean, he's just odd. Anyway, I'm not a fan, as you can tell. And I actually am not. I used to be, of the rock star Paul. I don't like the personal what I just explained to you. So it's really nothing against Kiss. I don't not listen to their music. I still love I Was Made for Loving You and all the songs that he sings. It's not like it's this is why I don't do Kiss interviews a lot. It's so personal. It's just so personal.
Well, but you're letting it out. You appreciate it because there's a lot of this stuff that nobody has heard.
Well, like I said, I had a lot more to say in my memoir than I did, and it wasn't Paul's turn to be on the stage. It was mine, and I took it.
Wow.
So,
thank you. Just honestly, thank you for being so honest and upfront. That's what we want. That's how we are on this show, even when we don't have a guest, because we have talked about, especially during the pandemic, we talk frequently about Paul's behavior. We talk about how dismissive.
I have no idea what he's been doing besides going, "Oh, please stay home, everyone. Wear your mask." What else is he doing? Tell me anything good.
Yeah, we've created a new social media character, and he's called Pandemic Paul. And Pandemic Paul likes to go around telling people, they need to wear masks or talk about this or what should an enlightened person be thinking about.
I'm sure Paul looks a lot better with a mask. So that's why he's happy to wear one.
But back to what Zeus said about being dismissive. We've talked about this, and obviously you have more of a personal experience. But we've talked about how during this time, with the passing of Bob.
About Paul's chin implant right after Eric died. No, right after Eric. Remember, Eric used to have a very prominent chin. Eric's chin would protruded a bit, and then it seems like right after Eric died, I saw that ballad. What is it in the Revenge album? It's all close up of Paul's face, and suddenly Paul has a chin. It makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe he was a little jealous of Eric.
I don't know about.
Could have been.
I don't know.
Yeah,
the chin looks a little like Eric suddenly. Then anyway, okay, I'll shut up.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay.
I didn't know about Pandemic Paul. I only knew about Phyllis.
And that's in your book.
What the road crew called him behind his back.
Yeah. So add a little bit to that, if you don't mind.
Oh, everybody knows that. It was actually Lydia Chris who takes the credit for starting it. I had met her at the one and only Kiss Expo I did a couple of years ago, the 20th anniversary expo. And she was lovely. And somehow we got into this conversation and Paul came up in the Phyllis thing. And she told me she's the one that started that. And the legacy lived on. Because Paul's so moody, the road crew would always call him Phyllis because he acted kind of gay and moody. But, I mean, I don't think, okay, I have no opinion. I don't care about his sex life one way or the other. But, I'm just telling you what they said. I never called him.
No, we appreciate it. That's fine. I know I could sit here and I could do this all day, but there's so many other parts of your book I want to get to.
Okay, let's get to it. I've got all night. Don't worry about me.
I know you're
probably split me into like a whole season of Carrie Stevens if you don't.
That's all right. You can be a frequent guest. We could be this week with Carrie's back on. That's not a problem. We'll take it anytime. So one other big band, and we know you. The Kiss fan knows you. The Kiss fans know you. But there's this other band that's big and prominent in your life, and one member specifically, and that is you are the biggest Van Halen person, right?
Yeah.
And they feature prominently in your book. So you grew up, you saw them at the Centrum, right? When you were in Massachusetts. So me and Tom, that's our place. We've seen many of them. I think my first concert was at the Centrum. Me and Tom saw Kiss at the Centrum, I don't know, countless times. That's our place. And you grew up in Harwick, which is a little in Worcester County. Yeah, West Harwick. That's right.
Yeah, about an hour away from the Worcester Centrum.
Yeah, so, I mean, I live in Westboro now. So Worcester County is my area now. And I know what you're talking about. And just to see David Lee Roth and Van Halen in their prime in that era.
As you read in my book, I mean, the very first sentence of my book, I have to wonder what I would have become had I been as ambitious academically as I was in aspiring to fuck David Lee Roth. That is the first sentence of my book. So that there you have it. So yes, I had a huge crush on him. 1984. So before the Kiss concert in Springfield when I was 16, I think that was like 85. And again, I didn't hook up with Eric till 87. Boy, this happened fast. My life was a lot more exciting back then, wasn't it? I don't think anything exciting's happened to me in like 15 years.
No, that's not true. We read your book. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yes, but I wrote about my past. So David Lee Roth, he was my, something happened to me. Like, I don't know, like it probably happened to, I know it happened to a lot of both men and women. Like Van Halen was just amazing. And they just, I don't know, they just represented this freedom and this fun and like just happiness, and everything was a party, careless freedom, fun. Like you didn't want to stay in school and study. You wanted to party with the band, like it was just a vibe. And there's been nothing like him before or since, like doing the splits and just like jumping 6 feet in the air. I don't know, anyway, yeah, I was completely taken with him. And I still have a weird crush on him. It doesn't matter if he's 65 now. I still think of him like he's 28. Like I
think everybody does
in my mind. Yeah, he'll never get older. But anyway, yeah, I'm actually going to send him a copy of my book because you read my book. So the last time I saw him, I made a complete fucking ass of myself.
No, you didn't. No,
yeah,
you didn't.
And I told him I wrote a book, and he said, "Am I in it?" And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, you're the first sentence." And I just repeated exactly what I just said to you. So I probably scared him. He probably thinks I'm a psycho.
No.
So anyway, I rendered the witty David Lee Roth silent. He actually had nothing to say after that. So I don't think it's what he expected at all, obviously. So, but his manager gave me her card, and I told him that I was going to send him a copy of it before I released it and make sure that he was okay with everything. But I never did that because I'd look like a bigger psycho than I already did, because I don't need David Lee Roth's approval to release a book, and it would only make me feel more embarrassed if he didn't respond. And I don't say, I think he'll like what I said about him a lot. I mean,
he comes across as great. He doesn't come across as a jerk.
I honestly say, besides my crush on him, I hung out with him many, many, many a time, countless times. Couldn't remember every time. I describe it in the book, but I never remember a mean or bad bone in his body, not towards me, not towards anyone else. I mean, he was just so easygoing, chill, really sweet guy. And I don't think that people have that vision of him, which is interesting. I don't think people have that impression. They think of like he must be some egotistical asshole, but he was always nice to everybody that was around us, not just me. Like he's just not a jerk, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that because of my little schoolgirl crush on him. I'm saying it in observation of his behavior over the course of, I don't know, 25 years or something, off and on. I mean, we haven't seen each other in many, many years. So you have to read the book. I don't want to bore your audience with every little detail of that.
You're not boring it. You're not boring anyone, believe me.
But he's. But Van Halen is probably to me what Kiss is to many fans. Like when I watch Van Halen, I feel like I'm young again. Like I feel like I'm a teenager all over again. You kind of revert back to that time where you had not a care in the world, and all your hopes, and dreams were, attainable. Before you were damaged. It just represents a time in your life,
Oh, yeah.
you were pure, So that then, and that's kind of that's Van Halen. I can't compare. I can understand how you would see Kiss that way, but because I have so much emotional baggage with Kiss, they were this close to being that for me until I got involved with Eric. I'm sure if I had gotten involved with a Van Halen member, it would have changed my outlook a bit. But for me, they are still, even though I had a slight, whatever you call it, with Dave, it was like more like two ships passing in the night, and I'm still not sure what happened. And that's the funny part of it.
I know.
Now on this Kiss tour, obviously prior to the COVID delaying anything,
Oh yeah,
David Lee
me for Kiss. That was hilarious. And recently, and I couldn't put everything in the book, but I do talk in the book about how it was. I think right now we're in September, so it's exactly 2 years since I ran into David Lee Roth. Told him, he was playing at a charity event, and he spotted me in the audience. Second year in a row he played, but this time he noticed me and he sent security to get me, and that's how I ended up backstage making an ass of myself, talking like a babbling teenager. But anyway, he asked, we were reminiscing about back in the day, and he said, but we never sweetened the deal, like meaning we never slept together. And I'm like, yes, we did, because I thought I thought we did. I thought we did because I slept over, but I didn't. I thought it was my fault because I drank too much whiskey the night before to have the nerve to even go home with him, and so I assumed we did. I just thought I was too drunk to remember it. So when he said that we didn't, I said yes, we did. But then actually later, when I got home and thought about it, I'm like, maybe he was right. It was 25. I was only 23. It was 25 years ago. So I've been thinking all these years I had sex with David Lee Roth. Maybe I never. Yeah. Neither of us know, and that's the fun. It's just sad, but it's funny. It's very funny. So anyway, I guess kind of gave the story away, but that was.
There's plenty of good stories in there with Dave.
I don't know. So I kind of posted about it on social media the other day, and everyone's like, so did you sleep with him? And I'm like, you have to read the book to find out. Right. Yeah, if you read the book, you're going to find out. Neither of us know, but that's why the story is so funny. But so in the course of the conversation with him, when he said we never sweetened the deal, and I said, yes, we did. And then we started talking about it, and I said, well, because we had spent a lot of time together when you read the book before the night that we slept together, and he wanted to know why I always ran off. I always ran away at the end of the night. I just, the ugly night lights would come up and I would disappear like Cinderella, or the pumpkin turned into a pumpkin at the end of the night. But I'd go home to Eric. So I told Dave only 2 years ago, I said, I had a boyfriend. And he kind of nodded seriously, and he's like, you did? Who? And I said, Eric Carr. And he kind of nodded like he was confused. And I said, the drummer for Kiss? And he's like, oh, yeah. So the whole, you got to understand, this was so many years ago. And I would go home to Eric at 2 a.m. and be like, poke, 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 waking him up all hyper and excited about, guess who's flirting with me all night? David Lee Roth. And he's like, go to bed. Eric, he knew that how much I was so in love with him. He wasn't, thank God he wasn't, every boyfriend I've had since Eric has been an insanely jealous person. And Eric wasn't. That doesn't work with me. So hopefully I'll find someone again that is not insecure and jealous. But Eric wasn't, and wasn't threatened by my ridiculous David Lee Roth crush. And then when I did, I don't know. Like I said, it's like you got to read the book. There's so many interludes between Dave and I, and I'm so in awe of him to this day, as if, it sounds like I know him really well talking to you, but I still feel like that 14-year-old girl that saw him for the first time, and I'm like, really, you remember me? Like I make a complete asshole of myself. And he's like, Carrie, of course I know you. Like you light up a room. You I think he knows me, but he thinks I'm deranged and dangerous at this point. So yeah, and in any case, I did not do what I said 2 years ago, and I was not going to, I said I would send him a copy to approve. I'm sure he was just, I bet he didn't even think that I'd actually, a lot of people say they're going to write a book, and who actually does it? But I actually did it, and my hardcovers are going to be out soon. I still have his manager's business card. I'm going to send it to him and say, hey, I promised you I send you the book. Here it is. Hope you like it.
That's awesome.
With no other expectations in mind. Okay, that's gonna be my closure for making an ass of myself in front of him last time I saw him.
Now you have a lot of so one of the things that I said to Tom after we both read it, we were talking about it with each other, and I was like, I think, and you said earlier, well, I had nothing really going on the last few years. I'm like, you have no idea when you talk about a lot of these things in your book that me and Tom are like, what? Like, oh yeah, I flew in a plane with so-and-so and so. Yeah, I was on his private jet and we just went to this for the weekend.
I didn't even mention.
Yeah, there's like a million, like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with this guy. Yeah, I dated Joey from Friends. Yeah, I did this. And I'm like, dude, if I have to go to Tom to visit him in New Hampshire for the weekend to hang out with him at his cabin, it's like I got a plan for 6 months. I got to figure out shit, and it's like a big ordeal. You just fly all over the world, have this fun. You go wherever you go. You're like this adventure, this stuff. You live an exciting life.
Those opportunities. There was a little voice in my head that said, someday you're not going to have these opportunities, so you take one. Everyone that comes along, take it. And I did.
God bless
and then
you.
I thought my life would change when my son came along. But actually, I kept getting opportunities, and I kept taking them. The last life's gotten. Well, I won't bore you with the last boring 5 years. I had time to write a book because I was not flying around on private jets and things. But yeah, life. I'm so blessed to have a son who. My favorite person in the world, and you read it in the book. When he was my biggest cheerleader, and he said to me, Carrie, if you had not taken risks in life, you would have nothing to write about. He said, with high risk comes high reward, and that's when I said the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He is my son, and he's right. And if I had not done everything I did, I mean, I could have played it safe. I could have done things differently. And sometimes, I look back and go, wow, I was crazy. But then again, I wouldn't have a book to write had I not been a little crazy, huh?
No. So that leads me to a question. So kind of a two-part question. Did anybody tell you not to write this book?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And B, and since the book has been out, what kind of feedback from family, friends, or from people in the book have you like, oh my God, I can't believe you put this in there, or I can't believe you said that, or like, because obviously writing a book, especially the kind of book that you wrote, which is amazing and like Zeus said, raw and honest and filled with amazing stories and details and adventures and highs and lows and all kinds of emotions. I mean, it's a spectacular book, and a lot of times people on your side might be like, well, Carrie, do you really want to do this? Obviously you did,
Of course, this has gone on, and it took me 2.5 years to write the book, but it's something I thought about and originally started 27 years ago. So maybe 28. So let's talk about the recent few years. So I went through probably 5 lawyers. I went through bullshit from family. I went through people with dumb opinions, thinking that they were smarter than me, telling me shelve the book until I book a TV series and then release it. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If I book a TV series, then the book will already be out. So what's the harm in doing it now? Like, why wait? It's not like a movie where you release it in the theater the weekend and then you don't have another chance, it'll be gone. I mean, it's right. It's there now. So no matter what my career does later, it can only help me. And I think that And I had people tell me not to talk about John Elway because the Broncos were going to have hitmen come and kill me.
Wow.
Yeah, not to fuck
Wow.
with the Broncos because, yeah, if something happens to me, the Broncos are going to have me killed. Yeah,
What?
you name it, I've heard it. I've heard, yeah, you know, I can't talk about Carrie McDougal and Donald Trump and, you know what? Well, and then what makes sense to me is how come everybody else can talk about it and they can bring me into their press, but I'm not allowed to have my side of the story. And I had lawyers are the worst. Sorry, you're a lawyer, but I realized, and this is a great story about lawyers. I'm only going to share it. I wouldn't want to be boring to your audience, but because you're a lawyer, I'm going to share this interesting story about lawyers. So I had a couple best friends that were, I thought, my good friends that were lawyers. And then some acquaintances, lawyers that I went through trying to hire to help, you know, make sure that I was not going to get myself in trouble writing, make sure I knew what the laws were and protect me, all that stuff. They all screwed me over. They all were either dismissed me like a Paul Stanley would, like I was a little nothing to them because they like represent Steven Tyler and they have big rich clients. And they even though I was two of them, by the way, okay, this is going to turn into a long, boring story. Got their career started, took them to the Playboy Mansion, introduced them to everyone, loaned them money to get their first apartments, got their careers off the ground. Now they have no time for me. These lawyer friends of mine, these two females and a couple male acquaintances. So I went through lots of lawyers trying to get help who basically told me to be scared of everything and I'd be crazy to do what I'm doing. And none of this made sense to me until I realized that unless a lawyer creates a problem, they have nothing to bill you for. So this is the funny part of it. I really wanted a lawyer, and my friends were lawyers. I'm not speaking to them anymore. But I just wanted somebody to, no, but I wasn't, and I would have paid them, but I wanted them to treat me like they cared about my project. Like just talk to me like a friend, and you can charge me, but please treat me like you care about the project. That's all I really wanted, was somebody that I could talk to like a friend that would care about it. And then after I exhausted all of my so-called friends and acquaintances, I remembered that the guy that played my husband in Birdemic 2 was a lawyer, actually, and on the side, he was an actor. So he lives in San Francisco, and he works for a law firm. And I remembered he was like in the copyright and trademark business. So it gets funny. I told you I could write a whole nother book about the way that I ended up getting this book made. I called, I'm sure you haven't seen Birdemic 2. It was voted like the worst movie ever made. Yeah. So, and I play the tree hugger's wife. So my tree hugger husband is a lawyer in San Francisco, and he's who I contacted. And he said, I can't charge you because it's against like my company policy. But as a friend, he's like, I'll look it over. And I said, that's all I want. I just want a friend. And, you know, he had so much fun. He was way better than my editors because he said, this is so much more interesting than reading contracts all day. Like he was so into it. And he caught every little tiny error spelling people's names. Like, look, he was amazing. And the reason that I tried so hard to find professionals and people I thought that loved me to help me. And at the end of the day, it was the tree hugger from Birdemic that came through for me.
I will tell you something, Carrie. Okay? I say this to my friends all the time. First of all, I do real estate in bankruptcy. So that's okay. I know
I won't need you.
Yeah. I know more scumbags in the legal profession than any profession I know. I know they're all shitbags out there. There are plenty of them. But there are, for attorneys, you will find there are deal makers and there are deal breakers. And that's what I always do with my clients. What do you want to have happen? Well, I want to really buy this house. So are you the type of person that's going to get through those hurdles and get you over it? Or are you the guy that's going to throw out shit and make you feel like this is the most important thing and cancel it?
I wanted a lawyer that would not create problems, that would help me solve the ones I was facing. Advise me on the ones I'm facing. Don't create new ones that aren't there. So that's what I was facing, and basically being dismissed, because I wasn't Paul Stanley. I wasn't Steven Tyler. Like I wasn't like big enough for them, I guess. And that's why I would like to give, if you were on camera, I would stick my middle fucking finger up at them right now. I'm sure they're too busy to listen to a podcast, but they're too busy with their miserable contracts they're revising. But anyway, too busy creating problems for other people. And I decided that I was not going to let them stand in my way, and that anybody that was going to treat me in a dismissive manner doesn't deserve to be in my book. And actually, their names used to be in my book. They're in the story, and you can see who they are if you look close, because they have been dismissed now. They are not referred to as their name. They are friend or a roommate or just someone in general.
Fuck them.
If they're going to be dismiss me, guess what? They're dismissed too.
Fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Fuck them.
People mistake my kindness for weakness often, and I'm incredibly capable and resourceful. And don't underestimate a woman's kindness for weakness.
Yeah, and Miss Marshall, fuck you too.
Fuck you, Miss Marshall.
Yeah, fuck you.
I heard she just retired, so good. No other kids will suffer.
If you want, I can drive down there and throw something at her house, egg her house or something.
She's probably like 90 years old now. Leave her alone,
All right.
All is forgiven.
Okay,
so
I won't.
So as we kind of come around here full circle, can you answer if you've gotten what kind of reception or feedback?
That's a great question, because it's been the absolute opposite of what I expected.
Okay.
I really expected hate and trollers. I expected. Yeah. I had to say to myself, and I told a couple of my close friends and my son, I said, I may not be able to look at my own social media anymore. I may post and have somebody else handle it, because I'm not sure I can, because I expected a flood of shit. And I haven't had any. As a matter of fact, I revealed some secrets, as you know, that I ran past my son first. And when I told him I was thinking of writing this, I said, there's some things you need to know about Mom first. And I told him a few things. The David Lee Roth thing first. He laughed like a hyena. And then I told him the Bernard thing. And he goes, oh my God, Mom, you are like 007. You're so cool. I'm like, really? Oh, okay, then. If you think I'm cool, then I'm writing the book. So I didn't. If that's all I needed. I needed my son's approval. And
good.
But I was completely prepared to be judged and ridiculed by everybody else. And I have not had a negative word, shockingly. My father, who's, I talk about him in the book. I was a scientist and everything is black and white. I was so shocked yesterday when I got an email from him saying, I can't put your book down, and I really think you should work on getting this turned into a movie, because he said, I just watched a movie called Jolene, and you should contact that producer because your life is so interesting. And I'm like, this is my dad. Yeah, I expected, I don't know, him to find something in it to be mad at me about, but I'm hoping to gain a bigger female following. I don't have a large female audience, probably because I'm a playmate. So I'm like 92% men following me on social media. I think every woman in America could learn something. Well, not America, I'm sorry, the world could relate to my story, especially about being a single mom and listening to the narrative that was told to me as a young girl and how that influenced my choices as a woman. It's very empowering. I'm hoping as it gets traction, the book gets traction, I'll get some more female following. But the friends and acquaintances that are female I do have, and male, actually have all said the same thing to me. Basically, no one can put the book down. And they say how empowering it is and inspiring. And and everyone likes it. So I'm really happy to say that I haven't had to deal with any negativity. And in my mind, I was prepared, but I told myself, you know what? For every hater you get, you're going to get 1,000 more people that love you. So ignore them. And that's still what I'm going to do, because there's not a lot of nut jobs out there. So I'm sure I'll get, it just doesn't come with the territory not to get them in my position. So as the book and my popularity grow, I'm sure I'll attract some, but that's my attitude. You know what? With 1,000 lovers, you'll get one hater. Who cares? Shrug it off.
No, it's a great attitude, and that's kind of the attitude that kind of flows through the entire book from start to finish too. And I think that's why the book has been such a huge success, and why it's such a great read, because it's your story, and you weren't concerned with anybody else's thoughts, opinions, or ideas. You wrote your story, and that's why it's the book that it is. And we applaud you for that.
Thank you. And I rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote. Like, you wouldn't believe how many revisions I made. And it was only, I think, 2 weeks before I actually published it that I did a very strong revision. And somehow I just stepped into my own power and said, this book is about me, and anything that distracts too much from my story doesn't belong in the book. That belongs in the press. That belongs if I want to talk about it in the press. But I want my book to be something that you can pick up in 20 years and never have heard of Carrie Stevens and enjoy the book. And I want it to be authentic. Well, it is. I wanted it to be, and it succeeded in writing a very authentic book that doesn't, I could have, as you know, been a publicity whore, there was a lot of places in there that I could have ran with some trash, and I chose not to, because I was thinking long term. Yep. I was thinking long term, and I want this to be, it's my life story, it's my legacy. It's important to me that it represents who I am, not what is going on today in the news, not what my emotions are today, because we all know your emotions can be something entirely different tomorrow. It's your life story is a place, for who you, not who you want people to see, but how you want to see yourself, and how you, say you died, what are people talking about at your funeral? That's the way I was thinking. Who do I want to be? And I want to be authentic. I want to be honest. I want to be true, and I want to be unique. I didn't pretend to be anyone. I'm not, and why should I?
No, and I think, and I think that's so well said, and you can feel that throughout the book. And I think one of my favorite moments in the book, and there's a lot of them, was how you put a lot of attention and focus on how you wanted to end the book. Like, that was a big deal to you.
It was hard.
And the way you did it, again, we don't want to give things away. We want people to buy the book and read it. But the way that you kind of wrapped it up at the end, that story that you told, and to kind of tie up the story, it was great. It was
what story you're talking about? Chapter 11, chapter 12, the very end.
I guess the story with you in Europe in 2018. Kind of when you packed up and headed out on your own to kind of, you had 12. Yes. Yeah. But I just thought that was a great way to kind of put the bow on the story.
The book was done for a year.
Yep.
Well, before that, and then I had a big agent. I should contact him. I haven't even told him that I self-published it, because like I said, I think I could write a book about trying to get my book out. And I'll never know the truth, but I think there's people in high places that did not want my book to come out, because
I'm sure.
I had the biggest, and not that they read the book, but a lot of people would be scared hearing I wrote one, knowing what I know. And actually, I did a lot of them a big favor by not making them the center of attention. But you know what? I think that I'm interesting enough on my own that I don't need them. So, and I'm very proud of that. I think I did a great book on my own without having to sell out. So anyway, I think there were several people, now that you read the book, that I got a huge agency, the biggest agent I could have imagined. And it was, he had it for a year, and it was very confusing to me how he could be so into it and then nothing until, all of this stuff started coming out in the press, gaslighting and all this stuff. And I started thinking, because there's a lot of people mentioned in that book that might also be with the same agency, or they might play golf together, or who knows, but I'm now blown off. So, it was when the pandemic happened. I think it probably had a profound effect in different ways on all of us. But for me, it was like, you know what? We don't know if we have tomorrow. I'm not waiting for permission or approval. I'm not waiting for somebody else to do it. I'm going to do it my way. And I hadn't looked at the book in about a year, because it was that April that the agent took it. And this guy, has huge stars. Like, he does $6 million deals for people. He bragged to me about he turned down Gene Simmons' books, but he loved mine. And he wants his teenage daughters to read it. And he wants every woman in the world. I was so powerful for women. And then the guy blows me off. So it was very fishy. But it was about a year went by, and there was the pandemic. And that's when I said, you know what? Now I've stuck home. I don't have auditions. I don't know if I have tomorrow. So I'm doing this myself. And the third week of the pandemic, I know people, of course, from Playboy, hired one of their photographers, one of their makeup shot, made my living room into a photo shoot. And I sat down and I reread my book before I released it. And I went, wait a minute, this isn't the ending. That's not the ending anymore. I had grown so much in that past year, the one you're talking about, where I travel by myself all over the world. And I'm so glad that it happened that way. Things happen for a reason. I'm glad that agent blew me off, because basically I would have been giving up all of my creativity. I would have not been able to design that amazing cover that I did by myself. And the interior, all those amazing, the memorabilia, the photos, all of that. I did all of that, but meticulously chosen myself. If I'd had a publisher and an agent, I would have given up all of my creative control. And it's so much better because I didn't. And not only that, I don't have to give them 80 or 90% of my profits either. So there's a lot of silver linings here. But the best part of it is, I didn't give up my creative control. And then it wasn't released too soon. Because if it was released too soon, it wouldn't have been the same book it was. Because in that last chapter, where you're talking about where I go off to Europe and all, I grew so much in that year when I sat down and read my own book. I said, but it doesn't end here. And so that's why I immediately fired off the last chapter that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And it ties up so perfectly and neatly. That's where it was meant to end. And I don't want to ruin it either, because I can't say the ending of the book or I completely ruin it. But it's probably, I can't pick a favorite chapter, but when I read my last chapter, which I've read a million times and wrote it, I still can't stop reading it. And it's my own story. So that's exciting.
It's great. Absolutely. Zeus, you going to say something?
Yeah. So I remember, because we obviously follow you from social media. I remember you putting up photos in Ireland, and here I am reading your book. And this is the funny part, because before we started taping, people, we were talking, and I was like, this book reads well. I'll give our old buddy Joey Casada the same thing. I love you. Too. Yeah. And you read it because we're Kiss fans. We read this because we met you through Kiss, and you read it. And the Kiss part and the Eric part is obviously touching and important for us, but there's so much more. So what I'm trying to tell is people in the Shout It Out Loudcast, fans, people listening, it's not just Kiss. The Kiss stuff is in there. It's interesting.
Very confusing. And I actually really haven't begun to promote the book yet. This is only the second interview I've done. I don't have I don't want a PR agency. I've been approached, of course. I don't, it's kind of like, you know what, I did all of this by myself. I'm going to continue to. I have my own social media. I have my own following. The more people that are reading this book and reviewing it, word is getting out. And I want it to happen organically. I think that there's so much more to the story than Kiss, but the Kiss fans are so loyal, which is amazing. They're loyal, and I love them for loving me and being so loyal to Eric like I am. And they're so interested in Eric after all these years. And that's why, you know, they want to read my book because they want to feel close to him. And I'm so, oh my gosh, it's like, I can't even believe I'm the same person that I was when I felt so small, when he was sick and when they died, and I was so young, and I was 22 and I felt so small and helpless. And here I am. I've created a platform and has expanded his legacy. I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And it's like our story, you know, it's not, it turned into, I didn't think it was, and it's not a book about Kiss. I don't want to mislead people into thinking. And that's why, by the way, I told you I had all kinds of people giving me opinions. I had a publisher that wanted me to wear the Kiss jacket on the book cover, that you know, everything like. And I said, you know, it's a book about me. It's not a not a book about Eric. It's really not a book about Eric. It's not a book about Kiss. It's about my life. It's my life story, and I don't want it to be misleading. And I thought my cover design, I wanted it to look like the cover of a Playboy magazine. And my story is just basically about a Kiss fan that ended up, you know, whoever I don't know, what do you call me now? In a position to write about Kiss. but I also have you know, how do I say it? There's so much more to the book that's not about Kiss, but somehow Eric always comes back because he's been in my heart. He's been walking with me. He's my soulmate. So I don't deny. I tried for a long time not to do Kiss interviews, and I tried to avoid them, and it was too difficult. I'd end up being a mess for days. But you know, I part of the healing was doing the Kiss Expo, facing fans face to face. That actually was really healing for me, to understand that other people besides me were not over him. I wasn't the only one holding on. So I had a nice, you know, bonding, cathartic experience with Kiss fans. And then, of course, that was the hardest part of my book to write. And I rewrote the ending over and over and over. Because I didn't want how do you end them? It was the most. Now you can understand why I'm so mad at Paul for exploiting it. The most painful thing I've ever gone through is walking into the funeral home and up to Eric's casket, and then Paul has to go fucking write about it like I was a weirdo for being. And by the way, I don't know if I had a legal case, but the minute I heard that, I texted Bruce, Loretta, Bruce's ex-wife, Christina. I'm like, did I do that? Did I do that? And they were like, no, you didn't do that, Carrie. Like, just ignore it. Yeah. So, you know, it was not only hurtful, it was a lie. I mean, it was, so anyway, how did we get on him again? Pandemic Paul. What about Pandemic Paul for a moment? Onward. Positive
no, Carrie, what I was trying to say, when I sat there, I'm like, okay, we're gonna interview Carrie. Believe me, you have no idea how excited we were and how pumped up we were to get this interview. And then I'm like, I've got to finish the book because everything's going on with life. The book just kind of came out, and I'm like, I'm at my daughter's cheer event, and I was telling you before we started, like, oh shit, I gotta bang this out. And then Carrie's like, "Oh, banging my book," and I'm like,
You're gonna bang
"Yeah."
and spit out.
And I'm like, got the Carrie Stevens book in my hand with Carrie's cover, and I'm talking about banging this out in the car parking lot of my daughter's cheer event, and we just started laughing and going on, and I looked at Tom, and we were both like, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be real. This is gonna be like she's like us. This isn't gonna be one of those. So what's your favorite food?
Massachusetts.
That's it.
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
And
that's right.
I mean, I'm telling you that me and Tom feel like you are one of those people that when we've had you on our first time, like we could have you on a million times. You're welcome to come on with us. This was just, way over here, like higher than we ever anticipated it being. You are as genuine as you are beautiful. This was, it's one of those things where you for us, we're fans. We lose a guy like Eric. We were, we were college. We were in college. You're only we're in the same age group. You look 1,000 times younger and better than us, but we're in the same age group, and we lost Eric then. So we didn't really appreciate it much. And then now growing up, and now we know you and gotten to know you, I can speak for myself. I'm sure Tom probably feels the same way. Like, I feel so much better knowing that Eric had somebody like you, not somebody that he dated back then. Never, brings him up. Oh yeah, I dated this guy. This guy and you had such a relationship that it's so evident that comes through in this book that it makes you feel like, oh, that's so great that he had you in his life, especially at the end. This isn't just a passing thing. This wasn't a guy that you dated amongst the guys in this book. This is a soulmate. This is something that comes out genuine, that makes us feel good about what's a sad moment for Kiss fans losing Eric Carr. I feel better having read your book because I know that he was loved. And if it doesn't,
the nicest thing I could hear. Thank you so
I mean,
much.
I think that Kiss fans read that and be like, you're with us. Like, you will protect him. You will do this. And I know that you've talked about this a little bit, and it's tough because we fans put this on you. Like, hey, it's his anniversary. Hey, it's this, this thing. Oh, it's his, and it's emotional for you. And I know you have that burden sometimes of being like, and his family as well, of like carrying this on, and it must be so hard for you to deal with this. But you must hear it from people like me and Tom, the Kiss fans. We appreciate this, and we appreciate you, and we love you for this.
It's been a burden and difficult for me for many years, but now I can claim victory thanks to this book. I feel like I've risen above it, and I've won the emotional battle. I've fought the tears, and I've won. I don't know how to explain that, but
we know what you're saying.
It didn't kill. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I know this sounds strange, but I think you get it. I'm still in a relationship with him. Just because he's gone does not mean I am not in a relationship with him. We are soulmates, and it's still a love relationship. And I think it's been empowering to admit that forwardly instead of hide from it, because I thought people would think I was weird for thinking that way. So letting that go has been extremely freeing.
Yep.
Yeah, Carrie, you're like Zeus was saying, and you've just been a wonderful ambassador for Eric's spirit, Eric's longevity in the Kiss world. I know we don't want to get people teary-eyed, including you, but I'm teary-eyed
all the time. Don't worry about it.
And I'm happy for you that this book came out the way it did. And I know that Eric would be thrilled to see this book. And we're just so grateful that you embrace the fact, that you come on a Kiss show and you'll talk about Eric and you'll talk about other things as well. And that you don't shy away from being somebody that like Zeus said, that we can go to and share Eric's spirit And we're just so happy that you came on our show to talk about not just your book, but that as well.
Well, thank you for having me. And I agree, Eric would be extremely proud. And it makes me feel like, like he's here right with us with this conversation. So yeah, I'm getting teary. I should just shut up now.
Well,
I'm ahead,
it's all good. Carrie, thank you again. We would love to have you on again sometime, shoot the shit about all sorts of the adventures. And this book, okay, all us Kiss fans, non-Kiss fans should get it. It is a fucking entertaining read. And if anybody wants a recommendation, they get like the greatest recommendation you'll get from us. It's a fun read. It's out now. Go get it. Carrie Stevens, Unrated Revelations of a Rock and Roll Centerfold. Carrie, thank you very much for joining us.
Carrie, thank you so much.
I'll be happy to chill with you guys anytime. You're great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Stay safe and be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Wow.
Yeah, big wow there. As we said, kind of leading up to it, very unusual interview. As you could see, Carrie is a very emotional and a very passionate woman. And that's what we want. We want that from anybody on this show. Opinionated, passionate, vocal, not holding anything back. There were times when Zeus and I were laughing because we just let her go. It was tough to get full-bodied questions out because she just wanted to jump in and answer and talk. And we let her do that because she was the special guest. A lot of stuff there for people to digest, and just amazing.
So we didn't go over parameters. We came out of this looking to talk to her about her book, which we both love, by the way.
Yep.
What I've kind of figured out 24 hours later is Carrie has had all this back up frustration of all the stuff. And as she said, this stuff is difficult for her. As you can tell, she's still crazy in love with Eric. She's still very emotional about this stuff. And I feel like she did the Kiss Expo in 2018. That was hard for her. And then she's talked about this stuff a couple different times, a couple podcasts. And if you heard her say a couple Kiss, fanzines and things like that. So what I believe is that she found a safe place here. Yep. I can talk about Kiss with a group of people that know Kiss, but it's okay for me to say this. She's not going to go to a Kiss Expo and be like, Paul Stanley was a dick to me, because we know what's going to happen. 3/4 of the people are going to stop throwing shit at her. But here is a group, I would think, that loves Kiss, but as we say, we don't give foot rubs here. So she gets the point that I can talk about this stuff, get it off my chest, vent of all these years of frustration. Has she talked about that Paul Stanley, Eric Carr funeral stuff? I don't think in much details like this. I mean, I've heard a few things where she's defended herself, but she got this off her chest, and we just let her go at that point. I mean, there was a point, like we asked the question, it was like 15 minutes later, and me and you were both like, our jaws were dropping. Other than dying laughing at some of the stuff she was saying, it was just like, wow. And good for her. I felt it was therapeutic for her. She wanted to present her side. She did that. And we're glad that we got it out there for you. We're not going to pile on Paul here. It is what it is. You guys can make up your own minds. We have our opinion. I still believe, as I said in the interview, that I did say Gene and Paul, but it is really Paul. But I think Gene liked to say us, so he wouldn't be like the only one that was a dick to her. I just don't get it, what's in the book. And then he made another point to it somewhere else too, to talk about like her fiddling around with like dude, why would you bring that up? It's similar to the shit about why are you writing this book about how your second book about this is the way I'm not telling you how to live, but this is how I live. And, no regrets and be polite. You don't need to that. But by the way, Peter Criss is a fucking asshole loser. Like, why do you do things like you're your own worst enemy sometimes? And you're the last person that should shit on anything or anybody because you are the most sensitive person in the world. I don't get it.
Yeah, it was unique because we started out presented as, we're a KISS podcast. Let's talk about Eric. And obviously you guys are only hearing this. You're not seeing it, but like we've said, she's very emotional and very, Eric is still part of her. And I love that she was so brutally honest with those emotions with us. And the way that the Paul section of the interview came out was so raw and so unscripted and so unexpected from us that we just let her go. And, you hear us laughing because she goes off on a tangent about his appearance and his behavior and things. But you can tell that there are some wounds that have not healed, and that Paul is responsible for those wounds, and that she wanted to get that out and get that out to us, but get that out to the listeners. Maybe not necessarily to go after him per se and, air dirty laundry, but just be like, hey, this is what he said about me. This is how I feel about it. I need to defend myself. I'm passionate about what he said about me. You're bringing up Eric and you're saying these things, you're dismissing me as just this playmate or his behavior and his words. So we were not expecting that. We thought it would be, we did talk about the book. Obviously we talked a lot about the book, and the book is fantastic. I mean, you guys have to read it, but it was so enlightening to hear her talk, to learn about the kind of person that she is through the interview. And we talked to her a lot before we hit record too.
Yeah, we talked to her more before we hit record, and we were like, shit, we should probably be recording this.
Exactly.
And, I felt that we got the truest Carrie Stevens that anyone's going to get. This was just two guys and Carrie in a room just talking and shooting the shit and about KISS and what she went through. Look, we can talk about her awesome book, Revelations of a Rock and Roll Centerfold. In the book, I mean, there's parts in, and we'll circle back to this, Tom, but in the book, I just want to tell you guys, it reminds me of Joey Casada's book, where it's, KISS is a big focal point in the book. It's because Eric is throughout the book. Eric keeps getting brought up, obviously, but you find yourself not really caring, even though you're a KISS fan, because her story's so interesting, just like Joey's. And you're rooting for her along the way and all the adventures. And you're rooting for her with her son and her life and her career and all this stuff that you're like, holy shit, I didn't know she dated this guy. I didn't know she was friends with this guy. I didn't know this guy was such a nice guy. I didn't know this guy is such a dick. First of all, the big revelation to me is like, we're huge sports guys. This book could have been marketed, never mind Eric Carr and KISS. This book could have been marketed just on John Elway. He's not just like one little thing in this book. Yeah. There is a shitload in there. So if you're a sports fan, read this. There's a lot of shit in there that you're like, holy Christ, you didn't know this. Fascinating stuff. And we talked a little bit about this, that she could have put a lot of more gossip and shit that she knew and heard being around with big celebrities. She didn't want to do that. She only talked about stuff that related to her. She didn't want to shit on people and make it tabloidy. She talked about her stuff. And she had no problem telling her about all the things she did. No problem telling her. No, not ashamed, bold, proud. Good for her. And it's very empowering. I see that and I'm like, God damn, go. And she's got the initiative, went out, said, fuck this. I'm not going to listen to all these assholes that tell me I shouldn't do this or you can't do this. I'll just do it myself. And yeah, she had to deal with shitbag attorneys. There are millions of them out there. I know for a fact they are. And she just did it herself. So, and I'm sure Eric, looking from on high down low, I should say, and is proud of his girl. She fucking did it herself. But, you know, he inspired her, and they're honestly, it's very touching that one of our favorites, our meaning the Kiss Army, Eric, was really loved by somebody genuine, not somebody that, yeah, I dated Eric Carr and then goes around on the circuits, you know, oh, here's a Kiss Expo. I'll want to talk about Eric Carr. You know, it picture fucking Ace's, whatever, Rachel Gordon. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
You know, do you think she really loved Ace or loves Ace? I don't even know if fucking any of the band members' wives love them as much as she loves Eric. Mm-hmm. You know, that's incredible. And it's very touching, and it's, you know, it makes you feel good that Eric had someone like Carrie in his life, and Carrie has Eric's spirit with her. So that part is the feel good part I feel in this book.
Yeah. So, you know, I've said it, she's just extreme passion, extreme energy, extreme love for what she's doing now, what she has been through in her life with and without Eric. And that interview was just the sound of a woman who knows where she is, knows who she is, knows what she wants, knows what makes her happy, knows what doesn't make her happy. You know, there was a ton of things that I had written down that we wanted to get to. And we do that sometimes because we've had guests on. We've been lucky enough to have some great guests on before, and we don't necessarily know how the interviews are going to go. Are these guests going to be very talkative and or not? You know, so we have like, I create, and I know Zeus does too, like boatloads of different questions and things just in case, you know, the answers are not long, or maybe they don't have a lot to say, or maybe that's a topic they don't want to get to. So because Carrie had so much to say about so many things, you know, we did chat with her about the potential of maybe having her back sometime in the future to even talk more, because we did want to get to her book. You know, we did want to give her that ability to talk about her book and not just talk about, you know, Kiss and Paul, but we gave her that avenue to do that because it was, you could tell it was time for her to purge her feelings with, like Zeus said, a safe place, a Kiss podcast where say what you want and no one's going to stop you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you guys will enjoy it. Hopefully you guys will run out and buy her book, because you should. It's an awesome read. Unrated Revelations of a Rock and Roll Centerfold by Carrie Stevens. Honestly, I mean, the first couple minutes we talked to her prior to recording, I told her, I'm like, I picked up this book and I was, you know, I didn't know how long it was going to take me, but I banged this thing out. She's like, oh, you banged one out to my book? I'm like, I'm like, what? Yep. You know, and there were times where we were talking, and, you know, you're talking to her, and she's such a stunning woman.
Oh, God.
That we're on Skype when we're talking, and I'm like, holy fuck. Look at, like, her eye. Like, she's so stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
And just so pleasant. Got a smile on her face. So, you know, very inviting, very warm. Not a cold bitch or stuck up, like, that could have been, like, you know, time is money, let's go. Like, very warm, very, very friendly. Just a great time with her, and we couldn't be happy enough, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just exciting for us, and it was surprising in a positive way. Not that either one of us had any preconceived notions of who Carrie was or what to expect, but you know, you're always like, okay, we don't know this person, we want to have him on, and then just to be blown away by the openness and the pleasantness and the rapport that we had, and the fact that we could have kept going all night long. But, you know, we know that we want to keep these episodes at some kind of length. This one's going to be another long one, and we hope you guys enjoy it. But we want you guys to enjoy this interview. Take it for what it is. You know, I'm sure there's going to be things that we say or ask, and I'm sure there's going to be things that Carrie says that you might be, you know, that you might not want to listen to as a Kiss fan. But that's life. That's what happens when you're listening to specifically our show, where there's nobody's holding back, and that's what we wanted from Carrie, and she sure as shit did not hold back.
No, and what about the other revelation about Gene saying, no, you can tell your story, tell it to me, put it in exact words how you felt that we were wrong.
Exactly.
And he let her publish it. I mean,
she had a lot of positive things to say about Gene, about how Gene made, completely honest, and exactly where he stands. There's no mystery about it, and that's what he wants from people that he's around too. So she had positive things for the most part to say about Gene. Obviously her opinions on Paul, woo, goddamn, brutal. Yeah. But that's honest.
She's friendly with Eric.
Yep.
Tommy's the one who invited her when she was over in Europe.
Yep.
She's obviously very close with Bruce. Mm-hmm. So she still loves the band. And like she said, if Paul never brought that up, she wouldn't really have had a problem. She probably wouldn't have said shit. But she went after him. And, I don't like hearing it. To me, I like thinking of him as one of my heroes and my and someone that I like to think of as a friend and somebody that I root for. I don't want them fighting. I don't want to know that Paul was a dick, but I don't know how I could read that and not think he's a dick, because it still bothers me. It's just, it's just one of those things that we need to learn to accept. That's Paul. Mm-hmm. That's how he is. Yep. He may say some things, he may be cool about certain things, but there's some aspects of him that we don't have to like and accept. And it is what it is. She's not on there telling us you don't have to like Paul. You can't be talking to me if you like Paul. She's not. She's just, she got the chance to get it off her chest, and she did. And we're glad that she did. And we're glad that she shared it with us. She's got an open form, an open invitation to come back here anytime. And we hope that you guys like this. And again, sorry it went on for a little bit, but she was on a roll. We weren't going to stop it.
Yeah, you don't tell Carrie Stevens to stop talking when she's talking, especially when she gets passionate about something. So we let it go. And again, we're hoping that you guys enjoyed it. We're expecting feedback on this, and we want it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. And Tom, what we usually do is we go to questions next.
So this is an email and a question. So I'm gonna read this email with the question. So this is from Spencer Perry. Hello, Tom and Zeus. So he must be a new listener. He's catching up, and he's talking about the Hot in the Shade episode. So he says, I'm listening to the Hot in the Shade episode. Right when you start talking about Rise to It, Tom stops to remind us all that the song is one of those that would have been huge for another band, but for Kiss in 1989, there just wasn't enough attention to the group to have that song break through. Rise to It stalled at number 81 on the charts. With the benefit of the whole catalog in front of me, I can say that 1980s Kiss is awesome. The music is not the same as the classic era, but it's fun. I get the sense that Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Poison, and other bands were so big to the point that there was really no room for Kiss in the 80s. On that note, what was it like to follow Kiss in the 80s? Can either of you provide some context? How many friend groups had a, quote, that guy who always wants to talk about Kiss back then versus the 70s? So great email. Thank you, Spencer, for sharing that with us. It's awesome. And thank you for catching up on the episodes. The Hot in the Shade album review was awesome because we both love that. But to answer your question, what was it like to follow Kiss in the 80s? Zeus, you want to kind of start with that? Because we were teenagers in the 80s when they took the makeup off.
So I would call myself a jock back then.
Yep.
Played sports my whole life. I think you played football. I played hockey. Mm-hmm. So when we would, during this time, there would always be hair metal is what it was called, what it's called now. But that music was played in all our locker rooms before the games, after the games, at parties. We listened to rock. I coach now. I don't understand these fucking kids playing the hip hop shit right now in the locker room. I'm like, are you guys going to dance with each other? We got a fucking game coming up. What the fuck is this music? Put on some AC/DC, you fucking little shits. Yep. I don't get it. But regardless, we all play that music. Kiss was in the rotation for everybody else. My friends growing up in high school and stuff knew I liked Kiss. But I didn't have that buddy to be like, oh, Kiss has got this. Let me go out and do it. Kiss was my secret favorite. I had all their albums. I would buy the magazines if they had something come out. I loved Kiss. I would buy the things about Kiss, but nobody else I had shared it until I went to Stonehill and met you. How about you, Tom? And that was not until 91. So
right.
Go ahead.
So the 80s, it was different because I think it depended on where you were already as a Kiss fan. If you were a Kiss fan, which Zeus and I were, we were fans of the classic era. So watching them kind of evolve into that 80s band, which we both agree was awesome. We still love it. It was different because a lot of people thought like, okay, they're following trends, but Bon Jovi's awesome and Motley Crue and Tesla and, Ozzy's putting out these great albums and, Kiss is good, but I mean, I still like them. But then there were other people who maybe were younger or, the time frame may have been different where they weren't fans of that classic makeup destroyer era. And they were discovering, Animalize and Asylum. They're like, holy shit. Oh, okay. This Crazy Nights, this song's fucking great. Heaven's on Fire. That video is awesome. These albums were great. So I think it kind of depended on where you were. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There were parts of me that drifted away from some of the 80s Kiss. I followed Lick It Up. The Heaven's on Fire video was great. The Asylum videos were crazy and great. So Kiss was always a part of my life. But like Zeus, I had, I think, one friend in high school that was really into Kiss. And that's who I went with to the Hot in the Shade show, my first concert in 1990. Kiss was kind of really, when Forever came out, that really put them back in the mainstream, especially with, Girls and it was a huge hit. But like you said, like playing sports, we weren't listening. No one was listening to Kiss in the locker room. I mean, for us, they
were in the rotation. They weren't anything special. They were in the rotation.
Yeah. For us, it was mostly AC/DC, Motley Crue and Ozzy.
Yeah. I wouldn't know about Ozzy, but like Motley Crue, definitely AC/DC in
Def Leppard too.
Yeah. Def Leppard. And then the other stuff started coming out and that was getting played. But for me, Kiss was, they were in the rotation. They were my secret band that I loved the most, but I wasn't going to a party and turning off Guns N' Roses saying, hey, put on fucking Radar for Love.
Right. No, yeah, and you're right. There you go. Guns N' Roses. That was probably the hugest band in high school. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. But they had their role, and then they were still like, I think I was more into Kiss in the 80s than you were.
Yes, that sounds like you were.
And then we each got caught up later on, and we caught, and when we met at Stonehill.
That's right. But a great email and great email question combo there. Thank you, Spencer Perry. Much appreciated. That was a good one.
Yeah. And so, Tom, when people email us and call us, and not call us, but send us messages, where can people find us?
So our email address is shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com, shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. As you can see, we read every single email. We will either read them on the air or respond to them, sometimes both, but we do not ignore your emails. So please use that forum to reach out to us, give us feedback, ideas, questions, whatever. And then we're on all the social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, very active, as you can see on all of those. Comment, interact. That's what we want. The show is for you guys. We love doing it, but we love doing it because you guys want to hear it and get involved with us. And it's all about involvement. We're part of the Great Pantheon Podcast Network. So you can hear our show everywhere and anywhere that podcasts are available. If for some reason there's a platform that you prefer that you can't find us, you let us know, and hopefully we can get that taken care of. We have an awesome Facebook Kiss group, Shout It Out Loudcasters. Check us out there. Be a part of that group. We got over 600 people on there right now, so we have a ton of fun on there. And if you're looking for some cool Shout It Out Loudcast gear, it exists. You check out our friend Ed. He's got an awesome shop called clicktshop.com. Click with a K. He mostly deals with Kiss-inspired gear. It's amazing, amazing stuff. But he also was the one who designed our logo and sells awesome Shout It Out Loudcast merch as well. So give our buddy Ed a look if you can. Clicktshop.com.
Yep. So, Tom, I always like to Repeat the email, and that's shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. And there is one I do want to read, Tom, to give you an example.
Yeah.
And this is from Corey Simpson. Corey writes to us and says, "Hey, my boyfriend who is a huge Kiss fan loves your podcast." Hi, Corey's boyfriend.
Absolutely. Thanks, Corey's boyfriend and Corey.
Yeah. And said, "I had to listen to you guys. I've listened to 2 podcasts and loved them both. Can't wait to listen to more. You both rock."
Ooh, that's awesome.
That might be our second girl that's interacted with us after Carrie.
I know. Corey, thank you. That's great. And thank you to Corey's boyfriend for listening to us and for getting the lady friend in there involved. What's more exciting than guy and girl shout it out loudcast? Oof, I don't know. Nothing's better than that.
AdamandEve.com with promo code Loudcast, Tom.
Absolutely. And everybody's happy. Woo!
Yeah. All right, Tom, when we finish up with that, we usually go to famous last words. What do you got?
A little danger, a little fun. We're going to take them one by one. Walk the wire of desire. And if you dare to take it higher. And I'll tell you right now, Spencer, I had this song lyric picked, ready to go before I even saw your email about Rise to It tonight. So we're kindred spirits there when it comes to this song, buddy.
Good one, Tom.
Yep. What do you got there, partner?
Haven't you heard? Only one solution. Gotta spread the word. Tell it to the people right now. Take a look around. Feel the new sensation. The world on fire. Rock the nation.
Beautiful.
Eric Carr with a little bit of a help on the lyrics on that one.
Yep.
Tip of the hat to Carrie. I want to thank Carrie Stevens, Tom, Kiss Army, and all of you out there.
Yeah, we want to thank Carrie so much for taking the time. We know this was a long episode, but sometimes they need to be long to get you guys what you want to hear and what we want to do. So we hope you guys enjoy this one, and please let us know. And as always, thank you for being a part of Shout It Out Loudcast.
Peace out, Girl Scout. Woo!